And there you go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Love that you are taking your lunch hour to join me. As I said, we are recording, so you can share afterwards with those that you're like, wow, my co-parent, I wish they could have got this information also. In the chat, feel free. We use the chat. One hope, one idea, one thing that you're like, this is why I came. I'm hoping that you cover this, and the age of your kiddos. I encourage, you don't need to. And the second thing that I encourage, because I tend to give a lot of information, and if you're able, I know one person on the call is driving, so we can check in later. But please know, great opportunity to grab a notepad if you're a notes person. I am. That's why I always call this out. Or I also take notes, so open a different screen so you can listen to me and we'll take it away. So who am I? Merri Gugisberg. I am the owner and founder of MKG Parent Coach. How did I even start this thing? I worked for 10 years in ministry. And when I was in ministry, I worked with youth in grade 6 through those first 4 years out of high school. So keeping those young adults engaged. Of course, when you work with students, you get their parents, you get their families, and you get the celebrations and the challenges. And I learned so much about what students were going through in their brain development, their physical development. It sparked that I would do a ton of these talks like we're doing right now. So I would do tons of research and build my own toolkit so that I was able to show up and support parents. Second, I moved into a profession of being a parent educator for a nonprofit in the Twin Cities. I live in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. And when I would go and deliver a talk, like what we're going to walk through today, parents were coming up after that same night or time, or they were messaging me and saying, you sparked an idea, but I don't know how to use that in my own home. So that's when I found this agency that I got certified as a parent coach. And I've been working individually or with groups and a lot of speaking still for the last 3 years. It's been a joy to just help support parents. And final, I want to tell you, I'm a mom. My hope when I was raising my 2, who are now young adults, I don't know if you can see over my shoulder, I have a picture of my kids. My hope was always that my kids would be friends. And check that box. My kids are friends. This coming weekend, if you can believe it, my daughter is getting married. So you see there's a photo with my daughter and another person in that photo. Yeah, their wedding is this weekend. And honored that she has this amazing life partner. And I will tell you, my kids are friends. They FaceTime. My son lives in another state now, and they FaceTime and they hang out and they just connect with each other. So that was one wish I had raising my own kids. And the second wish or hope or prayer was that they would want to hang out with my husband and I. And they do. My son lives in another state, but he FaceTimes us. He'll message, and is now a good time to FaceTime. He has a very demanding job, but he fits family time in. And my daughter lives right here in the Twin Cities. I'm blessed that we get to see each other frequently. So I encourage you, think about that for a moment. What are your hopes, especially as we're looking at another school year? What are your hopes for your kiddo? What are your hopes for your relationship with your kiddo? And I think what we're going to talk about today will spark some of those intentions that you have in showing up for yourself and your kiddo. So what are we going to talk about today? And again, remember, grab your notepad if you don't have one. I highly encourage. We're going to talk about that deeper layer around emotions. Emotions, what are they? We're going to apply the pause technique, and that's an acronym, so I'll explain that. We're going to dive into the importance of routines and how we can apply mindfulness in those routines. You're welcome to jot your questions in the chat, unmute, or save them to the end, whatever's easiest for you. I am, I think, quite approachable. So if you're ready, we'll dive in. Emotions. I love using this image that you hopefully can see on your screen. It's a It's an iceberg. So what I encourage with the iceberg is first, what are emotions? Emotions are those feelings or sensations that provide feedback in our bodies around our needs. You will hear me say this quite frequently. Every feeling equals a need. So how are we feeling in relationship to what we're observing? So back to that iceberg. What are we seeing? We're seeing our kids having maybe a temper tantrum. Hey, parents, we have temper tantrums too. Um, we're seeing them doing meltdowns. We witness when we have negative self-talk or those outbursts. Sometimes those outbursts are in physical, sometimes they're verbal, right? So then I encourage you to hold space for that lower part of the iceberg is what don't we see? And then hold space for your loved one and yourself. And that's when maybe my kiddo just needs to burn off some energy. Maybe we're running. They need to go run around the block. I will tell you years ago, now my son is in his 20s, years ago when my son was all fired up, he would run around our house and we would see how fast he could run around the house just to get him back into that regulated state. And I'm going to talk more about that. So every feeling equals a need. A mentor of mine uses this quote, and I think it's helpful for us, and I'm probably going to read it twice because I think it's so helpful. Your child's behavior is just their best attempt to get their needs met with the tools they have. Does that make sense? Your child's behavior is just their best attempt to get to get their needs met with the tools they have. So you're here today so that you can help expand your own toolkit. You're going to hear me say, put your own oxygen mask on first. And that's that opportunity to sit and help build your kiddos' toolkit. So one way, yes, I like this iceberg. You can see the behavior, what action is happening, but then you also can see, hold space for those emotions, is I like to encourage showing up with a lens. And one lens that could show up is that emotional judge. And think of a judge, right? A judge is law and order, right? A judge is my way. This is how it's done. So what I encourage is just unpacking what is this emotional judge? Is an emotional judge really, they're not interested in emotions and they come with that very critical lens. They're closed off, and they might even ignore emotions. An emotional judge makes quick assumptions and they jump into a situation. They see, remember the top of the iceberg, they're seeing the behavior and then they're making assumptions about what the emotion is. They almost see the emotions as mistakes or errors. When you're in that judging lens, you're viewing emotions as weak. I know I was raised at a time when boys don't cry. If you're showing that emotion, well, that's a weakness. And we know that all emotions come and go. So back to back to the judge and emotions, they view these as mistakes, as errors. They have a very closed mind when it comes to learning different ways to manage their emotions. They almost dump emotions as all emotions are either good or bad. And remember, there is no such thing. Emotions come and go. They're just like the waves of an ocean. They also make little to no effort to improve emotional regulation skills. That's that fixed mindset. So a quick recap. Judges view their emotions as well as the emotions of others with that very critical lens. Leads to snap judgment of the situation and of people. They think that it's unnecessary to learn more about emotions and strategies to feel all the emotions. And a judge even gets uncomfortable, may even be avoidant when it comes to being facing their own emotions or challenging emotions in someone else. I'm sure as I'm saying these descriptions, your own character is coming in, your loved one. I know reading this, again, I was raised in the time that boys don't cry. I can name for you certain people in my life that really came with that judge lens. So here's what I want to encourage. I want to encourage you to come with a scientist lens. And we know scientists, they come take all information as data. It's information, it's just that. They remove that critical lens and they show up with compassion. And they get curious. They get curious about their own emotions. Like, gosh, when that happened, why did I respond that way? And they stay in that curiosity lens that's open. Take time to reflect. They see emotions as data. They take time to ask and then listen. Listen to understand, not to respond, showing that taking all emotions, that's information. They take time to seek to understand. What's that cause beneath? Every feeling equals a need. So what's underneath? Picture that iceberg again. This was the behavior. What's underneath? When you're in scientist lens, you're willing to try new strategies. You want to get down to the nitty gritty, diving deeper and deeper to what support do I need and what can I do to help my loved one? Which encourages that growth mindset, right? We learn from mistakes and we try to do better and we try to show up and support our loved ones better. So quick sum up of an emotional scientist. They see emotions as data, tries to understand what's message is in that feeling and how that feeling might be showing up for others and what that might be telling me as the caregiver. A scientist explores strategies to support all emotional well-being. And then the last part of an emotional scientist is they step into empathy and offer empathy when someone is challenged with their feelings. And a quick reminder, empathy is that stepping into someone else's shoes, where sympathy is, I feel bad for you. Empathy draws people and it builds relationships, where sympathy, it actually breaks relationships and it pushes people away. So emotional judge, emotional scientist. I have another tool that we're going to look at to help us understand this emotions and where they come from. And we all have heard the fight, flight, or freeze. Here's a tool that I really encourage you. And again, this is a ton. I could spend a whole presentation just on the polyvagal theory. I use it as different visuals to help you really step into your own emotions. So let me talk a little bit about this. So the polyvagal theory, it's the theory that is based on the work of the autonomic nervous system, which really it's our lived experiences. And it's how are we responding to those sensations in our body and those signals that show up. And this is based on the work by Deb Dana. And again, I'm happy to dive deeper in it. And really these pathways, this ladder that you see on your screen, it's shows up in specific order and how we respond to challenges. So again, I'm not diving deep in this because I really want to get to application. It's a tool, another tool for you. So the 3 rungs that I'm going to talk about, and if you can picture a ladder, and maybe you can even think of situations when this happens, where are you on the ladder? Where was my child? Where's my partner, my co-parent? So the bottom rung, that dorsal vagal, that's the freeze state. That is the I am defense. I'm in that immobilization. It's that shutdown. Even look at that image, right? You see the person crowding. So think of when you asked your kiddo to take the trash out, when you asked your kiddo to sweep out the garage, fill in the blank, and they like literally crouch down and they're like afraid. So you can see the different descriptions. Screenshot this. Again, remember, it's going to be on my recording. You can dive deeper in these, but it shows the actions, the internal feeling, and some words that might work to describe. Let's move up the ladder. So the middle is that sympathetic stage, and that's that defense. And you see there, that's that fight, flight. I'm going to run away. I'm going to be aggressive. And again, it's that activated state. Some phrases in there that you can see. It's helpful, again, to know these so that you can explore, where are you on that ladder? Where are you? And what I encourage is embrace all. All feelings are what they are. Name it to tame it. Because then when we're in that ventral vagal, the top of the ladder, that safe and regulated state, then it's that opportunity to spend time in reflection. Did I secure my own oxygen mask? Did I show up with love? Did I practice being a scientist? So again, another tool, screenshot this. I'm happy to set a separate call and we can dive deeper in this. I have a whole list of questions that help us. How do we apply this into different situations? If you have a question, you're welcome to type it. Otherwise, I'm going to go to how do we've talked about the iceberg. We've talked about the polyvagal theory ladder. We've talked about every feeling equals a need. Now, when I say every feeling equals a need, I'm going to invite us to do a practice here after I introduce this that helps us name where we feel our emotions in our own body. So using the pause technique, it's using that quick word to remember, did I pause? And pause is being fully present, being fully there in the moment with your loved one and for yourself. And it's putting away devices, putting away work when my kiddo comes home from school. It's showing up and being fully head and heart in that space. Now, sometimes people will ask, well, we like to, have devices when my kiddo and I are just hanging out together. I would say you know your family best, and it's that wonder of, is that something you're sharing together? Like, hey, we're watching videos together, we're watching a movie together. Then you are, in essence, there. But when your kiddo is in the room, do everything you can to look them in the eye, be shoulder to shoulder with them, be present. Then we want to explore that A is being attentive to all emotions, mine and my kiddo. And if we spend time in the polyvagal theory, it also tells you that even just me tensing up, not saying anything, our kiddos sense that. And it's, what's wrong with mom? What's on mom's mind? What did I do? Right? Kiddos' brains go all different places. So we want to be attentive to our emotions and our kiddos, our loved ones, our coworkers, whomever you're in company with. The you, and I already touched on this, but it's that listen to understand. Understand what you're feeling, what words are coming out, what emotions, not fix. Remember, we're going to stay in that scientist lens, not the emotional judge lens. S is support. Who's in your circle of support? When you've learned this, did you secure your oxygen mask, or do you need to ask your co-parent? Like, in this moment, I have to catch my own breath. I have to practice my own mindfulness so that I can step into this situation. And that support is who's in your circle of support and who's in your kiddos, so that you can explore those solutions together. That's the E, explore together, where you foster and develop a collaboration. It's that opportunity to problem solve together and just deepen relationship, deepen connection. So pause, practicing the pause sometimes before responding, right? So as I said, we're going to, I like this visual. I use this especially when I'm trying to encourage a parent to teach their kiddo, what does it feel like in your own body? So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a handful of words. Like, it looks like I jotted down 5 words. 5 words, and I just invite you, feel, when I say these words, where do you feel it in your body? And for some people, just, this is really easy. For others, I've had clients say to me, Merri, I must not have any feelings because I can't tell you where I feel that in my body. So again, just like anything, it takes practice. It takes practice to name it so that you can work through it and then build your tools for what you need to tame it, right? Name it to tame it. Feel it to heal it. You've probably heard those little sayings. So if you're ready, on your paper, what I encourage, when I say these, I'm going to do them slow, one word at a time. Where in your body? Where in your body to feel it? And you're welcome if you feel so inclined to share this in the chat. It can be really personal though. So feel free to just process while I'm going through. So my first word, where in your body? Where in your body do you feel wonder? Remember, we already talked about that curiosity. Where in your body do you feel wonder? Next word. Where in your body do you feel worry? I have a big weekend coming up, so there might be some worries coming. You know, there's a lot of people driving in. So I'm like, even as I say that, my stomach starts to tighten. Like, ooh, the worry. I'd like to also remind you that sometimes kiddos will say, I can't go to school today, I have a really bad stomach ache. Well, learning how their body is expressing their emotions will help you build those mindfulness tools to help you to approach that. Next is stress. Where in your body do you hold or feel your stress? I will tell you, it's also a stressful week. I can feel it in my neck. I'm a person that clenches my jaw, so I can feel it in my jaw. Next one is joy. Where in your body do you feel joy? And then the last one is pride. Being proud is on my sheet there. And this is an image. I found this online. You are welcome to, you can search it yourself. You see it on the source on the page. It's just one of many. So some questions and here's where I love that you are able to take some notes. Some questions that really help unpack these is, what does this feeling look like in your face, in your body? What does it sound like in your voice? What kind of things happen that might make us feel that way? And then when you feel that, how do we behave? Excuse me. I love this one. What's the true definition of that word? When I say stress, what bubbles up for you? Stress means, and I have a tool for us that I will encourage when we're done that you access to. But knowing what a word means, we just assume our kids get, grateful. They get what that means. But when you read the actual definition, they might be like, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way. And when you have that definition, how does that relate to what you're feeling? And that next question would be, how and when, excuse me, another way to say this, when we have that emotion, when you're feeling stress, what can we appropriately do to express it? Is it appropriate for me to yell at my teacher? Is it appropriate for me to yell at my boss? It's ways that I encourage you to explore. When I have this feeling, what can I do to appropriately express it? Home and at the home. What do we do at home? What do we do at work? What do we do at school? And that's why you're here, right? Build your toolkit. And then the second part of that is how we express it, but also, do I like feeling this way? And if I do, great. How do I get more joy? How do I get more pride? How do I get more? And then how do I help my peers? How do I help my loved ones feel that? And then if I don't like it, if I'm like, ugh, I don't like that feeling, what can we do to change? And this is where we get to use some of those mindfulness techniques. And what can I do to help my peers, my friends, my partner? So I told you I have a tool that I love sharing about. Years ago, I learned of a brand new book. It's now probably 2 or 3 years old. It's called Permission to Feel. And it's written by Mark Brackett. He's from Yale University. And the team at Yale created an app, a free app. And this app is called How We Feel. Some things that I love about this app is you can set it for a notification. So it'll say, hey, at this time of day, Merri, how are you feeling? And you just get this nudge. Second thing I love about it, because it makes me pause and reflect, is there's quadrants. And on those quadrants, it'll be like, hey, I'm feeling stressed, but stressed with low energy or stressed with high energy. It tells you the definition of the word. And then it gives you mindfulness approaches. Again, how we feel, completely free. If you're like, yeah, I want to see one for kids, message me separate. I have a couple that I recommend. And yes, there's Headspace, but then I have one that a friend of mine actually created that's not free, but it's really good. And it's another mindfulness activity that helps us process. So how we feel, I hope you grab those questions too. And please know, I share this because all feelings, just like waves of an ocean, right? They come and they go. All feelings are ultimately okay. I learned from Mark Brackett is the importance of taking that meta moment, taking the pause, connecting with yourself, be present in your head, your heart, your body, be present. The more we model this for our kiddos, the more they're building their own toolkit too. Remember that attentive, giving attention to and validating your emotions and the others, working to understand, listening to understand others and your own. We want to make that circle of support bigger. Who do I need? What do I need to provide the best care? It's okay to say to your co-parent, I need a minute. I need a break. And then the last one is E, explore. Explore solutions together. And then that's that opportunity to collaborate. It could be a peer, it could be your kiddo, it could be in the work setting. Collaborate. I encourage those that we just talked about, I encourage finding ways to share those with your kiddos. Laura, I see your question in the chat. It's called Move Mindfully. I think it's like $8 or $10, maybe it's $5. And Move Mindfully, and it's a great app of just that, Move Mindfully, and it helps our kiddos, which I have a couple more coming up. We're going to talk about mindfulness, but I wanted to answer your question so I didn't miss it. So why is it important to set routines? Well, if you're anything like my household, we all have routines. My routine starts with every morning, I do a mindfulness myself. I move my body. I'm a walker. I am in nature. That is what I do. So that routine creates stability and security. And when our kids know what's expected of them, they live into that. It creates that emotional regulation too. When my kiddo knows that at 7 o'clock, you have to be walking to the bus, they know what has to happen before because we are in a routine. They know. How do we create those routines? So one is consistency. We know the importance of what I told you. Every morning I do a mindfulness and then I am in nature. Consistency is key. I encourage, again, you know your kiddo best, but encourage your kiddos to help in that planning. Does it help to lay out your clothes the night before so that we avoid the closet on the floor? I remember those days very well. It avoids those arguments too of, "Oh, I don't think that's school appropriate," right? When we pick out the outfits the night before. Sometimes visual schedules work too. A calendar, like, hey, if you have youngers, did I brush my teeth? Yes. Did I wipe down the sink? Whatever their chores are. Did I pack my lunch? Do I have everything in my backpack? Those visual reminders helps. And then you get to set the stage for what's going to work most efficient in your own home. And I always encourage, be flexible. You might have tried something the first week, but boy, as soon as the snow falls, it could be a very different routine. So I want to dive a little deeper into what is this mindfulness. And this is a great video. And this is another resource that I encourage sharing with your kiddos. I think it's meant mostly for adolescents, so 10 and up. So I would say, oh, the resource is called, you can see it on the screen, Change to Chill. And it's a free Alina Health program. You can go on, kiddos will take this quick survey evaluation, and then ideas of what they need to de-stress, they bubble up. Here they are. And then parents, there's great tools for you and I also. You can use this video to help teach your kiddo too. So here's some great insights.
Sometimes it's hard to focus on the present. You can't stop thinking about something that made you upset in the past or get stressed about the future. Mindfulness is a technique to help you come back to the present, focusing on your experiences in the here and now. Being mindful involves bringing awareness to your current thoughts and feelings, the way your body feels, your emotions, your surrounding environment, without judging what you are thinking or feeling as being good or bad. There are lots of ways to practice mindfulness. You can try paying close attention to your breathing, or bringing a deep awareness to an everyday activity like brushing your teeth or walking outside. Learning to slow down and focus on the present moment can help you experience more joy and gratitude in life. And when stress arrives, being mindful can help you change to chill.
So again, great tool. They have coloring sheets. They have so many resources. And they also have, those of you who have older kiddos, they also have resources for substance prevention. So I will be doing a talk on that later, but just so you know that those resources exist too. So what is mindfulness? True or false mindfulness is, does mindfulness build confidence? Certainly true. When we sit in that fear increases insecurities and it actually weakens self-confidence. Where mindfulness, it takes the focus off of the fear and it directs us to the present. What is happening now? And when we're truly in that present moment, it helps our brains be focused too. And it also helps us reduce those anxious thoughts, those spirals, those squirrel moments where we're like, wow, I didn't even know. And we can just spiral. Oh, my kiddo didn't go to school today. So they didn't go to school today. They're not going to pass the test. They're not going to get the job. They're not going to ever move out of my house. I mean, we spiral so fast. Where if we practice this mindfulness, it helps reduce those anxious thoughts, helps us think more clearly to build those skills of patience, balance, and confidence. True or false? Mindfulness is never truly mastered. Again, true. The moment you think you've mastered this, that's when you get to ask yourself what's next. And yes, you can get proficient in it, though there's always more to learn. So some lifelong lessons or questions might be, how can I grow along my mindfulness path? You know, I said I do a mindfulness practice every morning. Well, it changes. Some days it's a gratitude list. I literally write down everything I'm thankful for, and then I'm in nature. The one thing that doesn't change is every day I'm in nature. If you live in Minnesota too, yes, 12 months of the year, I am in nature. And the last one that I think is really important to call out is true or false. Mindfulness helps people use more of their brains when they get angry. And you can imagine, yes, this is true. If you've ever done any work with Dan Siegel, so Dan Siegel is the flip your lid. Google it. I highly encourage share it with your kiddos. And yes, I see you have youngers. If you Google that, it's a great tool that your kiddos can start to learn how to name. I'm going to flip my lid. And what that means is, this is the image of the brain, so I use my hand. And when I flip my lid, that prefrontal cortex, that's the decision-making area. Look how far away it is from my emotion center. And it's easy to, when we feel that coming on, we can practice a mindfulness to help us make wise, careful decisions. Caring decisions, maybe is a better word. And if you use these mindfulness techniques, it helps to slow down your thoughts. It helps bring you back to that awareness of what's around me so that I can bring myself back into that alignment. So to share some mindfulness activities, I know you're on the call and you have youngers, so I'm going to call out the youngers ones that are on here. And the candles that you see under that breathing one, I like to do smell the flowers, blow out the candles. And literally All kids can do that. You're smelling the flower. It makes you take that deep breath, right? Blow out the candle. And I do inhale, right? Because you're going to smell through your nose, and then exhale. A pinwheel, remember the little pinwheels that spin? So you could just be like, take that deep breath so you can make the pinwheel spin. We always have our hands, and it's tracing your fingers. So as you go up, you're going to inhale and then exhale. Inhale and then exhale. And you notice, even as I'm doing those, I was really excited to tell you about these. And then as I start to do them, I catch myself and I apply mindfulness to slow down, to be present. Move your body. I already told you, I'm a walker. I am in nature. With maybe our kiddos, I shared with you, my son ran around the house. I have a friend who, when they're getting their son off of his gaming device, the sister times him. So they set their guideline. They know what time the kiddo, you get 5 minutes before you need to be off. And then to get the kiddo's brain back into regulation, his sister times him to run up and down the stairs. How fast can I do it today? In 2 minutes, in 1 minute. Move your hands. You can make a fist and then release. Parents, a great one is washing your hands. Just going to the sink. Become truly aligned with what words are surfacing for you. Name it to tame it. Washing your hands and running them under water. Warm water especially works. What messages are you saying to yourself? Are you saying, oh, I messed up again? Or are you going, oh, I learned from that. I'm going to do better next time. And if you have littles, I would say great to say those out loud. Use those words to say, gosh, I made a mistake. I wonder what I can do to redo that. And parents, it's great to ask for a take two. I'm going to redo that. And literally step back in your car. You just came home from work. The living room is a mess. And you're like, oh, this isn't what I was going to come home to. And you're ready to flip your lid. But it gives you that moment to be like, hi, kiddos. I just need a minute. And you sit back in your car. You practice the pause that we just talked about. And then you step in again. And you're now you're in the present moment. You're more regulated. And gratitude, I highly encourage a gratitude practice. Really, whatever it is, whether it's at the dinner table, I'm going to talk about when we can use these. Dinner table. The last one I want to call out, and I think it's great for all ages. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's using our senses. So 5 things that you see. And I practice this with my kiddos. It's a great one to do if you drive your kids to school. What are 5 things you see? And they just call them all out. Okay, what's 4 things that you feel? And they'll be like, oh, I feel the seatbelt. I feel, the seat. I feel my legs on the floor, whatever. Okay, 4. 3 is 3 things you hear. So just a second ago, I heard my mail delivered. So 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you taste. And this one, I stretch you because we may not always taste something. I'm drinking water right now, so obviously I don't taste anything. So what I flip that to is, what's 1 thing I love about myself? And parents, I would do this with your kiddos. What are 5 things I see? And see who finds things first. 4 things to feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you like about yourself. There's so many pressures on our kiddos, on ourselves, that let's set them up for a way to literally go, I want to be comfortable in my skin. This is who I am. So out of these, jot on your notes, highlight, circle, whatever. Which one are you going to share with your kiddos tonight, this afternoon, today? And then where can you post these so you keep trying them? Mindfulness, remember, it gets us back in alignment. So when can you do some of these? You can practice these on those car rides. You can do these after school. When your kiddo comes home from school, it's so easy to say, how was your day? But you know what? How are you feeling about your day? What's on your mind? How can I support you? At bedtime, now again, you know your kiddo best. And some of these questions, you might be like, whoa, we're never going to fall asleep if I start with that one. So you know your kiddo best. And you know, Mary, I'm going to just do mindfulness before bed. We're going to read books together. We're going to play cards. That's not a competitive, again, you know your kiddo best. Mealtime is a great time to have some of these conversations. What are you excited about this school year? What are you worried about? One that I learned from another author that I follow, I read all the time. I am building my toolkit as well as obviously you're here, so you're building yours. Is a great question, and I would start this at all ages, is who helped, who did you help today? Add this into, and it doesn't have to be today. Maybe you're doing this once a month. Who did you help this month? And it probably will circles back to today. And maybe it's their sister. They helped their sister get their chores done, or they helped you take by taking out the trash, or they helped the neighbor because there were weeds to be pulled, whatever. And then the second part of that is who helped you? I think we've become too internal focused that we have to let people in and know that, especially our kiddos, teach them that, you don't have to have it all figured out. It's okay to ask for help. I'm not great at math, so trust me, I am making that circle of support better. I need an accountant. You hear where I'm going? I mean, make that circle of support bigger. So those two questions. Who did you help today and who helped you? Maybe it's after an activity, your kiddo's in soccer, your kiddo's in an extracurricular where they were on the stage, whatever. It's that opportunity to, how did you feel about that? Anything you wish you could have changed? Again, who is your partner? We're going to lead with lunch. When your kiddo comes home from school, lead with lunch. What did you have for lunch today? Who did you eat lunch with today? What were some of the things that sparked in the daily announcements? We're going to remove the achievement look and spend time in the who is my kid at their core and how do I help them blossom into the person that they are. We're going to have conversations remember we were talking about routines, and as we're preparing for the week ahead, whether that's on Sunday evening. I know I do it for my business, so I'm assuming you do it with your kiddos for the week ahead. You have a calendar, you have whatever. And I guess I have after school activity. Oh, the other one that I had on there was activity time. Maybe you're volunteering together and shoulder to shoulder work. We used to go for a lot of walks. My kids would come home on the bus and we would take our family dog for a walk. Lots easier to have those conversations shoulder to shoulder than looking mom in the eye. Because sometimes it's hard to camouflage that what they shared with me, I'm hurting because they're hurting. And when we're shoulder to shoulder, I get to practice the pause. I get to put my own oxygen mask on. So I welcome you to screenshot this page. Great conversation starters. Some people write these out or print them out and then they pull them out at dinner time. They pull them out in car rides. So how are you feeling about going back to school? Is there anything you're really excited about? Or is there anything that's making you feel a little nervous? And then you get to apply the pause, right? You get to explore those solutions together. What's one thing you're looking forward to this year? And maybe they have their best friend is in their class. Or what's one thing you wish could be different is, my best friend isn't in my class. If you could create a perfect first day of school, I'd love to hear what your kids have to say for that. What would it look like? And then what are your emotions? What are you feeling throughout the day? What do you think will be your biggest challenge this year? And then who can support you? Remember, I go back to make that circle of support bigger. Who is in your network for you for care and who's in your kiddos network? Okay, I have two more things. First off, before I do this, I want to invite you to my next webinar. And this one I'm bringing in a mental health practitioner. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And I encourage you, jump in, join us. The QR code is there to register. And I think building a toolkit for everyone around suicide prevention is so important. You being here today is suicide prevention. You're learning about emotions and support. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording and give you the opportunity to ask some questions. And sorry, I go really fast, so